Leon Rice. How does Boise State basketball get better? How does Boise State basketball respond to the loss last night? In 1 hour, he will be joining us here in the rowpaint.com studio. Welcome back to Idaho Sports Talk, hour number 2. Our second in-studio guest of 3 today, Eric Westrom. He is a producer for Idaho Public Television, a director for Idaho Public Television, and behind the experience, Idaho Experience. That's the TV documentary program on PBS. And this episode on Thursday, 8:30 p.m., Idaho's big-hearted slugger, Harmon Killebrew. Going to be fantastic. Can't wait. We'll tell you more information about this sucker. But Eric, welcome to the show, man. You know Prater. Nice meeting you here. And man, a bunch of people listening right now can't wait to see this documentary. You finally did it, man. Well done.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited for Thursday. I mean, the response we've had already is just
it's been huge.
Crazy.
What inspired this project?
It started out, it was going to be, one segment of a 3-part show, like one show, but we just had so much that we had to tell a full picture of Harmon Killebrew versus just 7 or 8 minutes.
Oh, meaning like, okay, he's meant enough to this state and whatnot. We need to do a flat out show. What is it about Idaho Experience, this documentary show that you guys cover a bunch of different topics on this state and this show with Harmon Killebrew, other than the fact that maybe there hasn't been the definitive piece and this is going to be that, especially with Prater's contributions over there, but
stop it.
But just like for this experience, Harmon Killebrew, I mean, a lot of stories you want to tell, but none maybe better than Harmon Killebrew's.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look, he was just incredible with his baseball career, but Hall of Famer on the field, but even higher of a Hall of Fame off the field with what he's contributed that's still going on to this day.
He's Eric Westrom. He is a director and he's a filmmaker with Idaho Public Television. Guys, on Thursday night at 8:30, and then Sunday night at 7:30 on Idaho Public Television. Idaho's big-hearted slugger. Harmon Killebrew. It's the Idaho Experience. It's a new documentary of who I call is the most accomplished athlete in the history of the state of Idaho. I don't even think it's debatable. You can debate the greatest athletes of all time from this state, but he is by far the most accomplished. You've kind of talked about his career, and we know about his career, born in Payette, buried in Payette, and just so many wonderful 75 years worth of stories in between there. What did you learn the most about Harmon Killebrew doing this project, Eric Westrom?
I think it was everybody we talked to that knew him and was one of his friends. Same story. Great guy, great person. And you just like, okay, this isn't just like eyewash. This is real. This is a real person who made a huge impact right here and throughout the country.
He was called the Killer, and part of the trailer, and we'll put the trailer's out there on social media, guys. You can find it, and again, you can watch this entire. What is this? About 90 minutes, 2 hours? How long?
I wish it was that long. We've got a half hour.
Oh, just a 30 minutes.
A half hour show. Yeah.
Okay, at 30 minutes, and on Thursday and Sunday, and you probably could have done 2, 3, 4, 5 hours on this guy. Yeah. What was some of your favorite stories? You shared some of the stuff with me, like the David Letterman experience. I think that one probably stood out for you.
Yeah, Letterman. That's just a fantastic story. Letterman invited him to be on. I think it was either 84 or 85, right after he was elected to the Hall of Fame. Killebrew got bumped from the show. Guests ran along. David felt bad, brought him back, in 86 and said, I'm going to do a full hour. Nobody does that, I mean, MJ, you saw the clip I saying, I said, not Tom Brady, not Griffey, nobody. And it hasn't happened since.
With David Letterman. And that was
when late night was huge.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's when late night television, that's what you watched. That was pop culture back then.
Ballgame, I wanted to ask you this question. I mean, I before, and again, I was so honored that you included me in this project, and I don't belong in this. And if it's 30 minutes, you probably should have shortened it to 26 and cut all my scenes out. But the one thing that I learned doing this project is how dominant he was from 1959 to roughly 1970. He was the most dominant player in baseball. I mean, in terms of the home runs and the accomplishments and all, Ballgame, you're the historian. How dominant was Harmon Killebrew?
Well, he was 6-time home run champion in the American League. I mean, that's more than Hank Aaron had in the National League, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's heavy hitter. That means, like you were saying, it's kind of the premier AL power hitter of his time. And that time in the 1960s was a boom for baseball, man. And he was right at the center of that. And I think he represented the state. He was Idaho's. Idaho didn't have anybody. They had Walter Johnson in like the Great Depression. Okay, cool. Nobody even could watch games back then.
And Harmon Killebrew grew up playing on Walter Johnson Field. By the way, how ironic is that?
That is cool. And Harmon Killebrew, like for example, like, you know, he was Idaho's, right? Everybody in Idaho claimed Harmon Killebrew from my research or whatever. And he was claimable. He was a great guy. I'll even say this. He's the logo. Look at the MLB logo. People think, and I have it right here in the studio, people think that is a silhouette of Harmon Killebrew, the pointy nose, the bat. It was done right around that time. And I don't know if they say it isn't because they didn't want to pay him. I don't know.
Yeah, there's something to that.
Seriously, but there's a rumor around baseball that the logo of MLB is Harmon Killebrew, his stance. And apparently a lot of baseball people swear behind it. I'm sure Greg probably believes that too, that it's the logo. Our producer, big baseball guy.
Yeah, he had an iconic swing. If you watch his swing, and he even like would watch, and like in the 60s, I'm like, man, I wonder if he got drilled, because you know now everybody's flipping the bat and they're showboating around. It's part of the game. But back then, you watch him hit a homer, he would stop and watch some of them, slow walk to first.
I did notice that.
Little swagger.
They hit some swag to him. And then, like you're talking about the logo out in Payette at Miracle Field out there, they have that, and they're like, you know, it's kind of part of the myth of Harmon Killebrew in a way.
Totally. And I like that he has that. Not every player has that myth, and people are like, oh, you know, he's the logo. Well, actually, he's not, but it does look like him. There's a myth. It's like Ruth's called shot. Did he do it or did he not? And Harmon Killebrew here in Idaho.
And one of these other great myths, and maybe it's more of a mystery than a myth, is he was called the Killer. And as you point out in the trailer, the most soft-spoken, gentle human being of all time. But what made him so successful was his strength, his brute farm strength. This guy was chugging or carrying milk cans when he was growing up in Payette on the farm. Soft, beautiful hands. He talked about his grandfather, who was some kind of international military wrestling champion. The brute strength of this gentle giant. What kind of nuances played out for him with those two elements? I mean, that's a hard thing to juggle, dude.
Yeah. And we get into like his most like legendary home run in Metropolitan Stadium, that they still have a red seat at the Mall of America, way up high. Aaron Coons and I were there when we were interviewing the Twins curator, and we had to look all over to find it. It's way up there. And then you got home plate 525 feet away. And some people say it even might have gone 630. I mean, it's crazy.
You've also, you mentioned the Twins, and you went back there and did some stuff with them. The Twins are definitely a part of this process.
We couldn't have done it without them.
Talk to me about the reaction that you've seen, because you put this out there and you sent me an email the other day, and the reaction from the baseball world, from the Killebrew family, to I think even maybe the Hall of Fame. Who's reaching out to Idaho Public Television and interested in this process, in this story that you can see starting on Thursday night?
The comments we've seen have been friends, family, fans. I've heard directly from the Twins. They're interested in perhaps showing this. I don't know, Target Field. I don't know. You know, they want to see it. They're excited. I was able to work with Clyde Deppner, who was their curator. He was, you know, instrumental. He got us there, and we spent time. This guy knows everything. We went to his. I won't say where. We went somewhere with him, and it was like being in like the Twins wing of the Hall of Fame.
Oh wow!
And he had the bat that Harmon hit that 525-foot home run. And
did he?
This is crazy. We got to hold that.
Wow!
Showed us, you know, he had Kirby Puckett's cleats from the '87 World Series. Just you name it. It was like I'm not a Twins fan, but I am now. After this,
what's the legacy of Harmon Killebrew in Payette now? We know that there's baseball fields. We know that he's been buried there. What else goes on in Payette with The post office's name, Harmon Killebrew
Yep.
Post Office, I believe.
Yeah.
What's the legacy that he left behind in Payette?
I mean, you see it. There's banners. There's the field. They still we scheduling happened this first, but we were able to get to Minneapolis the same time as Killebrew Days happens in Payette every spring. So we kind of missed out on that, and it was unfortunate. It was one thing I wish we would been able to do.
Here's a crazy story, and I'm sure you know this. He's the Idaho Public Television director, Eric Westrom, and the doc is coming out on Thursday on PBS. Harmon Killebrew, Idaho's big-hearted slugger. You'll also be able to stream it on the PBS app or online, and they'll re-air it on Sunday night as well. Harmon Killebrew is in a special club, a lot of clubs, but he's also in the special club of taking a big league at bat when he was 17 years old. That was his debut. 17 in a great era of big league baseball, the 50s. I mean, Mickey Mantle's in his stinking prime or just getting started right then. Mays in his prime. Hank Aaron, Stan Musial. Here's the 17-year-old Harmon Killebrew, and he hit 300 that year in a quick little call-up. But
actually, it wasn't a call-up. One thing I learned in this project, Ballgame, and you'll love this. He was a bonus baby, and based on Major League Baseball rules back then, as a bonus baby, and I don't know what qualified as a bonus baby, a certain amount of money, he had to play Major League Baseball for 2 years. He had to. And then in his third year, I think they shipped him back to the minors.
Yeah, he was in Chattanooga and Charlotte for a couple years.
Well, I see he didn't have like a full big league season until like a little later.
Yeah.
But how, okay,
it was an injury.
My question, how the hell did he go from a teenager playing for the Payette Pirates to hitting long balls against the Pittsburgh Pirates or whatever? Like, how did they find him? Where are the ivory hunters here, man?
So here's the story. It's like Idaho Center Herman Welker knew about him, kept bothering Clark Griffith, the owner of the Washington Senators. Hey, we got this kid. He's better than anybody you got here. And the Senators were not good in that era.
Horrible.
Not good. And finally, he got tired of hearing about it. So he sent Ozzie Bluegee, a scout, out to Payette to watch him. And it's raining. This is a legendary. This is like kind of the natural. It's raining. They don't know if they're going to be able to see him play. Finally, it kind of subsides, and they're burning. The story is they're burning like gasoline near the field to dry it out.
Whoa.
Yeah. Harmon blasts like a 430 foot homer, and the scout's impressed. The next day he goes out to measure it to make sure, and he says, he called. He said, we got to sign this kid now before the Yankees get him or somebody else scoops him up.
Okay.
And the better story is in Payette, Idaho. Think about Payette, Idaho, 80 years ago or whatever it was. He was an All-American quarterback.
Yep.
All-American. Somebody he attracted
the
attention of somebody who made him an All-American quarterback.
They didn't have 24/7 sports then?
He accepted an offer to go to Oregon to play quarterback, and I believe, Eric, and tell me if I'm wrong, he turned the scholarship down, or he changed his mind, turned the scholarship down because his dad had just passed and he needed some money to give to his mother to help the family. And so he signed his Major League Baseball contract, got a paycheck, and gave it straight to his mother.
Yeah, that's the story.
And that $4,000 a year salary then came in handy in Payette out of Idaho. Probably still does.
Eric, when you started this project and when you first called me, you were doing this Idaho Icon package on not only Harmon Killebrew, but the Blue Turf, the Women's Challenge bike race, and some other things that maybe were evolving around in your head. Harmon Killebrew is obviously, the focus of this documentary, which comes out on Thursday. But Sports Icons, Idaho Experience, you're going to talk about these guys in the future. Is this kind of the beginning of a little bit of a series? Are we going to see the Blue Turf down the road?
I don't know if it's the beginning of a series, but we're going to see a show where the Blue Turf is going to be probably half the show.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
pretty close. And then the Women's Challenge is something we're also still working on. And, we just don't have dates yet, and we don't have kind of the exact format, but something internally that we're talking about, and it's going to happen.
Can we all agree, and you can very seldom agree in Idaho and sports talk radio or in sports period, that the two greatest Idaho icons when it comes to sports are the Blue Turf and Harmon Killebrew?
They're up there.
They're up there.
They're up there.
They're up there. They're
Yeah.
up there. I appreciate that, man.
What do you guys think? Text us 208-424-9300. Harmon Killebrew in who? Harmon Killebrew in what? As far as the biggest sports icons ever in the history of this state.
Do you have one planned for Ashton Genty in 27 years?
If I'm still there, I might be retired.
All right. Hey, great meeting you, man.
Yeah, good to
Eric
meet you.
Westrom. He's the director, Idaho Public Television, in the movie, the film coming out Thursday, 8:30 on PBS. Harmon Killebrew, Idaho's big-hearted slugger. Appreciate the time, man. Can't wait to watch your flick.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
Great stuff. Prater and the Ballgame CFP rankings 1 tonight. They come out. Is there any possibility there might be a curveball? No pun intended, thrown in there somewhere. Prater the Ballgame, KTIK the Ticket.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studio, this is Ticket Traffic.
The puck drops, the crowd roars, and the chaos begins. Your Idaho Steelheads are back, baby. Don't just hear about it.